Is he going to put the screen down? Are you going to put the screen down? Oh. Okay. Is that good? Okay. I was just waiting for the last few people to come rolling in. Okay. Hello, everybody. Hello. My name is Kristen. I am one of the PTs here. Most of you know me, I think. And just to let you guys know, today will be somewhat interactive, so make sure you listen and stay on the edge of your seats, because today we are going to be talking about how exercise builds more cognitive reserve and leads to better brain function. Okay, what is cognitive reserve? Cognitive reserve is the brain's protective mechanism to prevent decline as we age. The brain has many nerve pathways, and the more pathways we have, the more the brain can be flexible and function in different ways. So that if you lose some of those pathways over time, then there are still pathways left to reserve those functions. And we like to think of it as depositing money into a savings account. So you can have it for a rainy day. So, how can exercise build cognitive reserve and improve brain function? I'm going to give you 30 seconds to think of as many ways exercise can improve brain health. So, this is the thinking part. So, 30 seconds is on the clock right now. How can exercise improve brain health?
We're supposed to tell you, or we're just supposed to
think about it, and then I'm going to get some answers. Okay, your 30 seconds is up. Does anybody have an idea?
Stimulates circulation.
Great. Anybody else? Say that again.
Wakes up.
Wakes up your brain. Good.
sends more oxygen and blood flow.
More oxygen and blood flow. Yes. Anybody else?
Exercise. You have to keep thinking of what I'm going to do next.
Yes, she said exercise, you have to think about what you're doing. Great. Okay, so we're going to go through some different bullet points that answers this question, and then we'll talk about each one more in depth. So exercise increases blood flow to the brain. Great job, everybody. It facilitates the growth of new brain cells, improves memory, improves sleep, reduces depression, stress, and anxiety, and it improves social interaction. All of this put together protects us against dementia, which is something that we all would like to prevent. So, here's a fun fact. By only giving you 30 seconds to respond to that question, I limited your thinking, your time to think, and that is one of the components of cognitive reserve, is how fast can you think? How fast can you react, whether it be to a physical task or to a question or anything like that. So good job. So like I said, we're going to talk about each of those bullet points in detail. So the first one, exercise increases blood flow to the brain. So we're going to do a quick exercise to get the blood flowing. So what you're going to do is for 30 seconds, you are going to march in place. Just in your seat, you're just going to march, okay? Are you guys ready? Okay, go. So for 30 seconds, everybody's going to march. Okay, you can stop. Does everybody feel more energized? Maybe a little? So by doing that little exercise, you're actually increasing blood flow and oxygen to the brain. And that is really good because your brain uses 20% of your body's daily energy. So it needs blood flow, which brings the nutrients, and oxygen, which obviously makes everything work. Okay, exercise facilitates brain growth. So your brain is like a muscle. The more you work it, the bigger and stronger it gets. Research actually shows that regular exercise increases the size of your brain, specifically the hippocampus, which is the memory center, and the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for your behavior, your personality, and your executive function. In late adulthood, the hippocampus tends to shrink, even in a normal aging adult. So exercise is really important to prevent that from occurring. There was a study of 120 adults that showed that aerobic exercise training increased the size of the hippocampus, which actually led to improvements in memory tests. So those of you that have done any type of cognitive screen, if you did not score optimally, exercise can actually help you to improve those types of scores. These participants in this study were in two groups, those that did aerobic exercise and those that only did stretching. Now, stretching is important too. Don't stop stretching. But aerobic exercise is very, very important. The aerobic exercise group increased their hippocampus volume by 2%, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that actually reversed the age-related loss by 1 to 2 years. So that's significant. And the folks that only stretched actually decreased the size of their hippocampus. So stretching by itself is not effective when it comes to the brain. Okay, exercise enhances cell growth and connections. So you have this thing called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, and when you exercise, this is released. And it's a protein that's kind of like the miracle grow of the brain. So you want a lot of it released so you can have a lot of growth. It helps you to develop new brain cells, which you still can do even at an older age, as long as you continue to challenge that the brain and the body. When it comes to exercise, you're doing movement patterns, which is what you spoke about. You're doing movement patterns that requires the use of brain and different synapses, which are the connections between all the nerves in the brain. And that actually strengthens those connections and makes it easier for them to communicate. So if you think about, like, if you practice something over and over and over again, it becomes automatic. That's what that is. Those connections between those brain cells become so efficient and they become so used to that movement pattern that you actually then don't even have to think about doing it. Like it's March Madness, we can think about shooting a basketball. If you do it 10,000 times perfectly, then it's going to become easy because those synapses are so strong. And that's with every activity, actually. Exercise improves memory and reaction time. So research is showing that people that engage in moderate or vigorous intensity physical activity or agility training may experience improvements in cognition, including performance in academic tests and brain tests, such as things involving processing speed, memory, and executive function compared to those who are inactive. So agility training is going to incorporate more change of direction things, forward, backward, side to side, maybe crossing over your step. Things such as line dancing could be considered agility because you're changing direction so much. And there was a study that compared people that completed an obstacle course and people that just ran on a track. And they found that the people that did an obstacle course had greater improvements in cognitive function, especially memory and reaction time. So with that being said, we're going to do another exercise. So for this one, you're going to reach your right arm overhead, so you guys can do it with me, okay? Then your left arm, okay? Now your right arm is going to touch your left shoulder. Now your left arm is going to touch your right shoulder, okay? So you're going to repeat that pattern a few times. So right, left, right hand to left shoulder, left hand to right shoulder, and do it, keep going. See if you can get it. This is like the Macarena. Okay, good. Everybody get it? Get the pattern down? Okay. So now you're going to do that same pattern while you march for 30 seconds. So now you have to march. Okay? Okay, you can stop. This exercise challenged your memory, your processing speed, and the flow of that brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which strengthens those neural connections and helps you to create new brain cells. So this is something that we would call multitasking. It's difficult. It's very difficult. Good job, everybody. Okay, exercise improves sleep quality. Sleep quality is directly related to the risk of cognitive decline, and exercise has been shown to improve sleep quality, therefore reducing cognitive decline. So just here's some bullets of how exercise helps us to have better sleep, fall asleep faster, achieve a deeper, more restful sleep, stay asleep longer, reduce daytime sleepiness, and decrease the need for sleep medications, which is a big one because some sleep medications can actually mess up your sleep cycle. So if exercise can take the place of that, fantastic. This is a big one. Exercise reduces depression, anxiety, and stress. These three things, depression, anxiety, and stress, can limit cognitive reserve and increase the risk of cognitive decline. There are these things called neurotransmitters, and it's a chemical substance that's released at what we call the synapse of nerve fibers. So the end of one nerve fiber, there's a little junction where a chemical reaction occurs. And then it gets transferred to the next one, and then to the next one, and then to the next one, until it gets to the place it needs to go. And these neurotransmitters are things like serotonin, you've probably heard of. This regulates your mood. Norepinephrine, which increases your alertness. And both of these increase after exercise. Dopamine is another neurotransmitter. I'm sure most of us have heard of dopamine, the feel-good hormone. It also increases after exercise. And dopamine plays a very large role in your memory. So, with the increase of these neurotransmitters, there is a decrease in the released hormone cortisol, which is usually thought to help make you feel tired, and it's released in response to stress, and it can be related to depression and anxiety and all of that. So we want to reduce cortisol levels. So this is good. Also, physically active adults report a better quality of life compared to sedentary adults. And maintaining a positive mindset and having a better quality of life protects the brain against dementia. Exercise improves social relationships. A lot of people like to exercise together. Exercise can be an excuse to get together. If you have a walking group or if you go to a class, water aerobics, balance class, strength, those are all groups. It's not saying that you have to exercise in a group. Some people love to exercise individually. That's fine too. But the research is showing that when you exercise with somebody or in a group, you feel more connected. So the research is showing, for example, married couples that exercise together, they feel more loved and supported than those that don't exercise together. And another study found that when people exercise, they have more positive interactions with their friends and family. Exercise protects against dementia. So a study found that cognitive decline is almost twice as common among adults who are inactive compared to those who are active. That's pretty significant. In another study, they used 454 older adults. They underwent yearly physical and cognitive exams for 20 years. These people were followed for 20 years. That's a long time. They were all given accelerometers to track their movement over these years, around the clock. So that's a lot of data collected. Those who moved more, in general, scored better on memory and thinking tests. And increases in physical activity were associated with a 31% lower risk of dementia. So that's not a surprise given all the information we've been over thus far. Okay, another research study related to aerobic exercise. 160 sedentary older adults with mild cognitive impairments. They have been documented, they have a documented mild cognitive impairment. One group participated in aerobic exercise 3 times a week for 45 minutes. Okay, that's group 1. The second group followed a heart-healthy DASH diet, and if you don't know what that is, it stands for Dietary Approach to Stop Hypertension. I had not heard of this, I had to look it up, but it obviously includes foods that are supposed to reduce your blood pressure. That's the second group. The third group combined aerobic exercise and the DASH diet. And then there was a group, kind of a control group, that just participated in an educational program. They didn't do anything else. So they found that the first group that did 3 times a week aerobic exercise for 45 minutes, they did show improvements in thinking and memory. And again, these are people that have mild cognitive impairments at baseline. And those who followed the DASH diet by itself had no improvements. The health education group had a decline in cognitive function, so they didn't get anything out of that education. But those who combined exercise and the DASH diet had the greatest improvement in executive brain function. So that tells us something. Exercise and diet in conjunction are extremely important. Okay. So we need the American College of Sports Medicine, which is kind of the organization that we get all of our exercise recommendations from for older adults. And they recommend 5 types of exercise for optimal health. Okay, energy. Seen by that arrow there. Energy is for cardiovascular exercise, and that improves the strength of the heart. Strength training, which improves your strength to perform your daily activities, sitting, standing, walking, getting in and out of the car, that type of thing. Balance training, reduce your risk of falls, of course. Flexibility, this goes back to that stretching. Don't leave it out, even though the stretching in that one article said it was no good. Stretching, very important. Flexibility exercises to improve your ability to perform movement necessary for daily activities. You have to be very flexible to get on and off the floor. Don't neglect your flexibility. And your mind or cognitive training to help maintain your brain health. So, How much exercise is recommended? The American College of Sports Medicine recommends 150 minutes of moderate intensity cardiovascular exercise or 75 minutes of vigorous exercise per week in order to maintain your health. So, can anybody here give me some examples of cardiovascular exercise? Walking. Riding a bike. Swimming. Excellent. Those are great. And actually, y'all hit all of them. Walking, riding a bike, and swimming laps, etc. So 150 minutes breaks down to 30 minutes 5 days a week. So that's really not that bad. You guys can do that. In addition to that, it's recommended you do strength and balance training 2 to 3 days a week and flexibility or stretching daily. Now, these are recommendations for the health of your body, your physical health. But let's talk about some recommendations to improve your brain health. So you guys thought you were retired, but there's more work to be done. So, there are specific guidelines to improve your cognitive function, but they have not been determined. There's not really good research on what exactly you should do for your brain health. However, most studies show that improvements in cognitive function with cardiovascular exercise and resistance training had the greatest improvements in cognitive function when you did cardiovascular exercise and strength training. The greatest results were noted when exercise is performed 5 to 7 times a week. However, in this case, for cognitive function, they don't think exercise intensity really matters. So, whereas the American College of Sports Medicine is recommending moderate to vigorous exercise, for your brain function, it's saying intensity doesn't really matter. Improvements were seen with high, moderate, and low intensity. How long to exercise? The greatest results are seen in 30 to 45 minutes. You don't have to exercise for an hour and a half, 2 hours, just 30 to 45 minutes. Balance training improves cognitive function when it's performed at least 2 times a week. For the mind, you need to do dual task training. So if anybody in here, if I've ever made them do an obstacle course and carry a glass of water, you haven't done that yet, Cindy, but you will. That's a dual task. I have to get through the obstacle without spilling the water. It's easy when you don't have to think about that. But when you have to think about carrying a full cup of water, that makes it a cognitive task. Things like that are the types of exercise that improve your brain function. So, is everybody ready to try a dual task? Sorry, I did not go to that slide. Okay. All right, we're going to do a dual task training exercise. You are going to alternate tapping your heels forwards and backwards like so. Can everybody see me? Okay. Keep doing that. Now I want everybody to start stating the alphabet backwards. Okay, you guys can stop doing that. That's hard, isn't it? I know what y'all will be practicing at home tonight. Okay. Mind exercise, dual task exercises like you just did. 2 tasks at the same time. Sports. Anybody in here play sports? Okay, but used to. Okay. Okay, so you kind of know if you're, okay, she's got her pickleball racket ready to go. So anything, even if you're doing the Wii bowling in here, I mean, you're still looking at the screen, moving, that type of stuff, that's still considered sports. But sports require you to move and think at the same time, and you have to be quick. If a ball's coming at your face, you got to catch it, right? So dual task training has been proven to be one of the most effective techniques to improve your brain health. Let's try another dual task. Oh yeah, this one's fun. Okay. Everybody make a fist. All right. Do your wrists counterclockwise, or well, I guess one's going one way and one's going the other way. Inwards. Okay, now towards the outside. Okay, now one goes in and one goes out. Oh, man. It's difficult, right? Okay. So trying to perform 2 movements at the same time is similar to doing what we would call sport. The last bullet here is about aerobic classes or line dancing. I spoke about line dancing a little bit earlier. If you participate in that, you have to learn and remember new movement patterns. Line dancing and aerobic classes also have some change of direction type stuff, which incorporates that agility and having to make quick changes. So you're getting really good brain stimulation with those. So if you can participate in that safely, please do. So what does all of this mean? This means that the most effective exercises are a combination of cardiovascular and strength training, and that these exercises should include cognitive tasks, such as dual tasking. And if you do that, and you stick to the guidelines, then you will optimize your ability to increase your cognitive reserve and decrease your risk for developing dementia or worsening any cognitive impairment that you have. And actually, even like we saw with that one study, even if you do have a cognitive impairment, with these things, you can improve your memory, your reaction time, your executive function. So that is all really good news. Okay. What's your next step if you don't know what to do? Get your Thrive screen. We combine, there's a cognitive portion, there's a walking portion, there's strength portion, there's posture. We can give you guidance on what you need. If you need therapy, we can recommend that. If you need to go to a fitness class, we can recommend that and which one is appropriate for you. Or we can just give you guidance on what you need to do on your own. You can talk to Sherry if you're curious about that. She is our Director of Fitness and Rehab. Or you can meet with a member of our fitness team, Melissa and Emily, and they can give you exercise recommendations. So, here's a positive thought to end with. I'm committed to being the best version of myself. Positive attitude is very important. And that is the end. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
Not a question, but I have a very dear friend who has been in neuroscience research for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've asked her for the pill to solve my brain dysfunction or decline. The whole time, she tells me there's only one thing that has been clinically proven to help me,
And that is?
what you just told us.
Uh-huh. You said your friend is what?
She's a professor of neuroscience at the University of California, San Francisco.
Okay, if anybody did not hear that, his friend is a professor of neuroscience at a university, and even she says there is not a pill you can take to fix your brain, only exercise. Very good. Thank you for that comment. Any other questions? I expect everybody to be able to say the alphabet backwards by tomorrow. Thank you so much for coming.